And so Netflix The Wonderfuls ends in exactly the same way the entire series unfolds. Chaotic, emotional, weirdly hilarious and surprisingly heartfelt underneath all the madness. What begins as a quirky superhero mystery eventually transforms into a story about fear, loneliness, manipulation and ordinary people learning how to face uncertainty together. By the finale, the series answers most of its biggest mystery while still leaving enough ambiguity for a possible continuation. One of the first major revelation in the ending is the truth behind the gang's powers. Throughout the series, Chae, Robin, Kyun-hoon struggle to understand why they suddenly develop supernatural abilities. At first, their powers seem random and almost comedic because none of them know how to control what's happening to them. But the finale reveals that everything traces back to the night they fell into Haeseong city's abandoned dump zone. There, they were exposed to toxic chemical runoff leaking from a defunct underground laboratory. That contamination altered them physically and emotionally, awakening powers tied directly to their inner struggles and personalities. This is one of the smartest aspects of the show because the powers are never treated like random superhero abilities. Instead, they reflect emotional truths about each character. Cheney's teleportation reflects her desperate desire to escape her ordinary life and see the world beyond Hyosong. Robin's super strength represents years of bottled up frustration and anger, while Gyeonhoon's immobilization ability symbolizes how emotionally trapped and directionless he feels. The power becomes extension of emotional trauma rather than simple action tools, which is why the series feels more character driven than most superhero stories. The finale also exposes Wondo's true plan, and honestly, it turns out to be far more disturbing than expected. Throughout the series, Wondo presents himself as calm and rational figure trying to protect people during dangerous times. But underneath that image is someone who has been manipulating the fear and paranoia of Haeseong City for decades. His ultimate goal revolves around something called the Eternal Heart, an experimental creation from his old laboratory. 20 years earlier, a child became brain dead during an accident connected to his experiments, but that child's heart developed strange regenerative properties, essentially becoming capable of immortality. The shocking twist is that the eternal heart now exists inside Cheney. Suddenly, several earlier mysteries make sense. Cheney's unexplained heart condition, her strange connection to the toxic chemical, and Wundo's obsession with her all tie back to the eternal heart inside her body. Hondo knows he can never recreate the experimental naturally again, so he becomes desperate to reclaim the heart at any cost. As the Wonderkinder's health begins deteriorating because of prolonged exposure to the chemical, Wondo escalates his plan even further. He decides to spread toxic chemicals throughout all of Hoysong City using a massive firework display attached to a blimp. His logic is horrifying. By poisoning the entire city, he hopes to discover whether anyone else possesses another eternal heart. That's when Chae and others finally stop running away from responsibility and fully embrace their roles as protector of your song. The final battle perfectly captures the spirit of the series because it's both emotional and completely chaotic. The group still struggles to properly control their power, mistakes continue happening constantly, and the actions sometimes feel like controlled disaster rather than polished heroism. But that messiness is exactly what makes the climax work emotionally. The underground laboratory eventually explodes once again during the confrontation, leaving Oon John severely injured but alive. But the biggest danger still remains the toxic fireworks blimp heading towards the city. In the finale's most emotional moment, Shani uses her teleportation ability to transport the blimp far away from Song before it explodes, saving the city from mass contamination. However, after she appears alongside the blimp, nobody knows whether she survived. For a while, the series lets both the characters and viewers sit with that uncertainty, creating a bittersweet emotional atmosphere. Thankfully, the drama doesn't end on tragedy. After some time passes and life slowly returns to normal in Song, Cheney suddenly returns home alive. And true to the tone of the series, the explanation is hilariously simple. She successfully teleported the blimp away but couldn't figure out how to teleport back. So she literally had to walk all the way home. It's ridiculous, funny, and strangely wholesome at the same time, perfectly matching the personality of the show. The emotional resolution between Cheney and Eun John is also handled gently. They finally admit their feelings for one another, but the drama intentionally leaves their future somewhat open ended. Instead of giving viewers a perfectly clean romantic ending, the series focuses more on emotional healing and connection. But the biggest surprise comes right at the end. Although everyone assumes Wondo died during the laboratory incident, the final scenes reveal he's still alive. Earlier in the finale, Ju Rang secretly injected him with Cheney's blood, which initially seemed meaningless. However, it's now strongly implied that the blood granted Wundo a form of immortality connected to the eternal heart. That ending completely changes the future possibilities of the story. Wundo surviving means the threat isn't truly over, and it suggests the eternal heart still holds mysteries nobody fully understands. The finale intentionally leaves several questions unanswered. clearly leaving room for another season, even though the drama was initially presented as a limited series. More than anything, though, the ending of The Wonderful is ultimately about fear and uncertainty. The Y2K setting isn't just aesthetic nostalgia, it represents how easily panic, insecurity, and can manipulate people during unstable times. Wondu thrives because he understands fears better than anyone else. He uses uncertainty to control others, turning ordinary people against themselves. The heroes overcome him not because they become perfect heroes, but because they finally stop being ashamed of their flaws and vulnerabilities. The finale quietly argues that courage isn't about becoming fearless, it's about continuing to move forward despite confusion, unpredictability, and fear. In the end, The Wonderfuls delivers an ending that feels messy, emotional, funny, and strangely hopeful all at once. It doesn't answer every question, but it successfully stays true to the spirit of the series. Ordinary people stumbling through extraordinary chaos while trying to protect the people they care about. Thank you for watching. Bye.